Well, rise and grind, DMV. Happy Saturday. We are waking up to cloudy conditions out there, but sunshine will be returning. So keep it here. We'll break down that forecast coming up.
And this morning on DC News Now, a pair of mass shootings in the DMV. We've got the latest from police on the gun violence rocking the district and Prince George's County last night. Plus, we hear from a passenger on the plane that nearly collided on the runway at Reagan National Airport. The details of her experience and an update into the federal investigation. And after months of debate, a vote on foreign aid happening in the House today. Details on the bipartisan effort to aid U.S. allies.
You're watching the station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on DC News Now. I'm Haley Mylon. We'll get to our top stories in just a few minutes, but first, we're going to talk to Brittany Ward about your Saturday. Brittany, it's looking a little misty out there in Roslyn, huh?
Yeah, you know, we are waking up to some patchy fog across the area, but cloudy skies. That's going to be the trend through much of the morning. Now, radar showing you the last hour here in the nation's capital. We had a stray shower make its way across Washington, D.C., portions of Montgomery County, as well as Prince George's County. But now notice radar not even showing anything. So we are dry at the moment, but there is still that possibility of us seeing a few stray showers as we head through the next hour. Satellite and radar showing you the entire DMV. We are holding on to the clouds. Again, that will be the trend as we head through the morning, but temperature wise, not looking too bad. We're sitting at 57 degrees right now in the nation's capital, 58 as you head over there to Lexington Park, 54 there in Hagerstown. A tad cooler though as you head over there to Kaiser. Your temperatures at this hour struggling to get out of the 40s. So for the rest of your breakfast forecast, again, cloudy skies will be the trend. Temperatures will begin to warm up into the upper 50s as we head into that 11 and or that 10 and 11 o'clock hour. It's not until this afternoon that's when we see a break in the clouds, and those highs will be getting into the 60s to 70s. So keep it here. We'll break down that forecast coming up.
It was a violent end to the work week. 9 people shot yesterday in 2 different mass shootings in 2 different cities, just hours apart from one another. The first happened in Northwest DC on Mount Olivet Avenue. That's just a few blocks away from Gallaudet University. 4 people were shot in what police believe was a drive-by shooting around noon. And then in Prince George's County around 2:30, shots rang out at a community park in Greenbelt. Hundreds of students were there for a senior skip day. 5 people were shot.
Our students were not safe, and they deserve to be safe. And so we're going to do everything we can to provide the resources that our city needs and our county needs.
Now, we'll have an update on that shooting in D.C. in our next half hour. But first, D.C. News Now's Daniel Hamburg has the latest from Greenbelt Police. 5 young men were injured during a senior skip day event. Police initially showed up to help with traffic and to monitor the crowd. They were on scene for just about 10 minutes before they heard 8 to 10 gunshots ring out.
5 teens between the ages of 16 and 18 were found shot at Shrom Hills Park a little after 2:30 Friday afternoon.
It's maddening, honestly, and there's not enough words to say for the condolences to the individuals that were there, to their classmates, to the school, to our community.
One of the students is in critical condition, while the other 4 are stable, according to Greenbelt Police Chief Richard Bowers. Bowers says they believe the shooter ran toward Hanover Parkway along with hundreds of other students.
It is senseless, it is chronic in our society, and we have to do something to stop it. These were kids on senior skip day who were looking to have a good time in a local park.
Police initially didn't know about the gathering, which also happened last year with no issues. City Manager Jose Salmarone.
Moving forward, we're going to be diligent about these unscheduled activities that are happening in our community. We're gonna play a greater role in tracking and reporting these incidents.
Bowers is hoping students will come forward with information about what happened. While there are no surveillance cameras in the park, video is starting to pop up on social media.
We know that the person involved is definitely on a camera somewhere. Like I said, there was about 20 police officers, so we have a lot of body-worn camera footage.
Chief Richard Bowers believes kids from Eleanor Roosevelt High School, Bowie, and some other local schools were at the park yesterday, but he can't confirm. If you have any information or videos from the event, you're asked to contact Greenbelt Police. Meanwhile, the shooting is frustrating people who live nearby. Neighbors telling DC News Now it's distressing to see kids involved in violence like this. They say gun violence among both teens and adults is out of control. Mike Cabia lives across the street from Shroom Hills Park. He says the answer is more programs for kids.
We got to get back to a village of people that it takes to raise, the kids. We got to get back to programs for the youth. I mean, it's a lot of things that need to happen, in order for the youth. They don't have nothing to do.
This unsanctioned event was planned on social media for at least a month. Police saying now that they're going to do a better job at tracking these types of events. And an effort to tamp down on crime by taking guns off of the streets. A group of Maryland churches is working together to do just that today with a gun buyback event. They're also working with Montgomery County officials and police. It's happening from 9 to 5 p.m. at the United Church of Christ, Seneca Valley. That's on Clopper Road in Germantown. Federal investigators are looking into why two planes nearly collided on the runway at Reagan National Airport this week. We're hearing from a passenger on one of those planes. Northern Virginia reporter Max Marcilla tells us what one woman experienced.
It was pretty apparent right away that something had happened and something was wrong.
Teresa Hoffman's trip from D.C. to Boston took an unexpected delay when her JetBlue flight stopped before it could take off.
Stop. Where's 2937? Stop.
After a frantic air traffic controller tried to prevent her plane and a taxiing Southwest plane from colliding.
I definitely didn't feel terrifying in the moment, but then afterwards, when I was telling people about it, everyone, the way that they're like, oh, I'm so glad that you were safe.
FAA data shows runway incursions trending slightly downward. There were more than 1,700 incursions across the country each of the last 2 years. We're on pace for more than 1,600 this fiscal year.
When you look at something like this, what you have to double check to make sure there was no miscommunication at that point.
The near crash has also reignited the debate over whether Congress should allow more flights at Reagan National.
The incident yesterday was a big warning light flashing red, telling Congress not to take steps that would weaken the safety of this airport.
Virginia senators speaking on the Senate floor saying the airport is already overcrowded, but lobbyist group Capital Access Alliance says these incidents happen at any airport and shouldn't deter a plan to add flights.
These same Virginia senators have called for expanding more flights at Dulles, and that's even after they had a very similar incident at Dulles.
That's our Max Marcilla reporting. That passenger, Teresa Hoffman, says the crew on her flight was doing a good job keeping all the passengers updated. Now that flight to Boston ended up being delayed for nearly 6 hours. Turning now to Baltimore, where the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed 3 weeks ago. Officials say they've opened a third temporary alternate channel. It's called the Fort Carroll Temporary Alternate Channel. It's on the northeast side of the main channel. This comes as officials say the salvage crews at the site are turning their focus to the thousands of tons of debris sitting atop the cargo ship. Once the debris is removed, crews can then guide the ship back into the port of Baltimore.
We are going to clear this channel. We are going to support everyone who's been affected by this crisis, and we are going to rebuild the Francis Scott Key Bridge.
Crews have removed nearly all of the containers that were on the ship. They've removed 120 of them, the goal getting all 140 from the ship, which would give crews access to the part of the bridge still on top of the cargo ship. In Virginia, the state's General Assembly is scrapping the budget and starting over. Lawmakers used an unprecedented procedural move to effectively kill the budget and begin again. They will now have to hold a special session to pass a budget before the July 1st deadline. Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin issued a record number of vetoes, which state Democrats don't have the power to override. The governor says he won't sign a budget that raises taxes.
We look forward on this side of the aisle of the chamber to working to find a way forward with our colleagues on the other side of the aisle.
We feel that we are close on a budget. We've got work to do. It doesn't mean we've agreed one. It just means we've got work to do.
The legislature plans to reconvene on May 13th to create a new budget. It has until June 30th to reach a deal or risk a potential government shutdown. Well, on Capitol Hill, the House is preparing a rare Saturday session today to approve $95 billion in aid for Ukraine, Israel, and other U.S. allies. Democrats and Republicans joining together behind the legislation after a months-long fight over renewed support for halting Russia's invasion into Ukraine. Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson putting his speakership on the line, relying on Democratic support this week to set up the votes on 3 bills, as well as a 4th containing several other foreign policy goals. Now, if it passes, the package will go to the Senate, where it will likely be approved, and President Joe Biden has promised to sign it immediately. Well, workers at Volkswagen factory in Chattanooga, Tennessee, overwhelmingly voted to join the United Auto Workers Union last night. It's the first test of the UAW's efforts to organize non-union factories. Now, twice in recent years, workers at the plant have rejected union membership, but this time they voted in favor of the UAW, which is under new leadership that has successfully taken on Detroit's major automakers. Workers at Mercedes factories near Tuscaloosa, Alabama, are the next to vote on UAW representation in May.
All right, your time now, 8:10 on this Saturday morning. And overall, I would say today will be the pick of the weekend. We are going to be tracking warmer conditions as we head through your Saturday. Highs will actually be getting into the 70s, but we are waking up to some cloudy conditions out there. Here's a live look there at the Roslyn skyline. Stepping out the door, it will be a gloomy day, but then sunshine will be returning this afternoon. So keep it here. We'll break down this forecast coming up.